full revision of this part about ecology. Here we'll be talking about how energy flows. I'm going to put all the things related to this part of our syllabus. First thing I will mention here that food chains have one issue, which is that they don't show numbers. To overcome this problem, we will have to have what we call pyramids of number. Pyramids of number, they are made of blocks, and these blocks shows you the number of living things in this particular trophic level. Sometimes they're messed up, call them inverted pyramids, and sometimes they are right. Usually, if you have one large producer, like a big tree, and many small herbivores, you will end up with the inverted version of the pyramid. And normally, if you have small producers, then you will have that upright, normal pyramid. So to overcome this problem of inverted pyramids, we tend to have what we call pyramids of biomass or pyramids of energy. Those are true reflection of how living things are in the food chain, because these kind of pyramids here will never be inverted, no matter what. Producers always have a greater biomass than anything else, and they always have a greater stored amount of energy. Moving to the second thing, which is about the flow of energy. Here we have 1, 2, 3 types of energy that we deal with in this subject. First, it's chemical, and that is represented by the arrows you have in the food chain. So those arrows represent food, which is chemical energy. So between the living things in a food chain is what we call chemical energy. Now, the second type of energy is what we call heat energy, and that's the energy lost in the food chain. Finally, it's the input. Light energy is what enters every food chain on this planet. Producers are the ones responsible to convert that light energy to chemical energy, photosynthesis, and then along the food chain, you'll have this energy continuously lost. Now here comes the most important part of this topic, which is about the efficiency of food chains. Why is it that food chains have limited number of levels? That's one type of question. Or they ask you, why is it that the top level of the food chain is always small in numbers? And you always answer it the same way. You will say first that energy is lost in the form of heat, and that is approximately 90% is lost between every trophic level. And this has to do with characteristics of living things, which is mainly respiration, movement that applies more to animals than plants, and lastly is excretion. So 1, 2, 3, these are the main processes that are responsible for loss of energy. In addition, you have to mention that there is a lot of parts, a lot of biomass that is not edible. I mean, here there are parts like bones and hairs and feathers and beaks. Those are not edible. So those don't count, and that's considered as lost energy. In addition, at the input, at the producer, we have a lot of light energy been wasted, not converted to chemical energy, because simply plants can't absorb all colors of light. Plants do reflect some of that light. A lot of light penetrates the leaf and it doesn't even reach to any chlorophyll on the way. Finally, it is the fact that decomposers, we usually ignore them in the food chain. We don't mention that everything eventually gets to a decomposers. A lot of the biomass at each level goes to decomposers, and that doesn't count or doesn't get transferred to the next level. Finally, it is the fact that food chains have always a small number of top carnivores. So here they're going to ask you, why is it that they have small number of top carnivores? You will mention these here, the characteristics of life that are responsible for loss of energy. In addition, you will mention that having a small number would always have to do with limited energy reaching this top carnivores, or the last level of the food chain is usually the smallest when it comes to the biomass and usually their numbers. And this has to do because they receive the least amount of energy after all of that 90% that we lost on the way. And these are the ones that are most likely to get extinct. So every time they mention that there is some problem at any level of the food chain, the one that's going to mostly be affected is the one on the top.